Hi, I'm Dan, and you found Therapy Woodworks, the funky little wood studio where we have a lot of fun and sometimes I screw up a lot. Well, speaking of screw ups, a couple years back I started a series of videos called 2-Tip Tuesdays. Every time I screwed up, I'd give you a couple of tips and I'd do it on Tuesdays. I've done it every Tuesday for the past 4 years. I have created a grand total of 5 2-Tip Tuesdays. I had an incident in the shop a while back and it was a pretty serious incident and I ended up getting injured. So I figured I'd take the time to maybe pass on some learnings about that particular incident. Most of my incidents usually end up involving a router for some reason. Those routers, they scared the bejesus out of me.
For this project, I'm using the Jessam router table at the men's shed. I had a serious incident in my studio a while back, and it changed the way I approach this step. I will never again use a router table with an insert that doesn't lock securely into place. In my case, the cooling fan on the router motor lifted the loose insert into the spinning bit at 16,000 RPM. I bent down to shut off the motor, realized just in time that I shouldn't put my head in the line of fire and stood back up, only for the insert to launch off the bit and embedded itself in my hip. Left permanent scars and a lasting reminder, secure inserts are non-negotiable. At the risk of damaging my cameras, I'm going to try and recreate what happened to me on that fateful day. Typically, I locate the fence over top of the router plate to lock it in, but this time I needed more room on the inboard side of the router bit. This meant that there was nothing to hold the plate in place. For the first test, I used an undamaged plate with a smaller hole, but all this did was cause the plate to levitate in place as there was too much of a gap for the air to flow and not enough surface area of the plate to create enough lift. Don't worry, I learned my lesson. I was hiding behind the post for these tests. For the second attempt, I used the plate that was previously flung into my hip and managed to get a successful liftoff, somewhat. I didn't have much of the router bit exposed, so the plate did not get caught up and gain momentum prior to launch, but you can definitely see the energy potential. Remembering the pain of having a loose router insert pop out of me, I swore I wouldn't use anything unsecured ever again, so for now, I've come up with a temporary workaround using tuck tape. It's not a permanent fix, but it'll do the job.
Hang on a second there. I did say this is 2-Tip Tuesday, so here's something else that I learned during the build of this magnificent wine caddy. If you want to see this video, I'll put a link down in the description. The second tip has to do with a couple of things that I learned about the router too. Not so much about router, but about router bits.
Alright, lesson learned, and now we're diving back in with our newly acquired Jessam router table at the men's shed. This thing is an absolute beauty. The build quality is fantastic, and being able to lift the router motor above the table makes bit changes fast, clean, and honestly, kind of fun. And speaking of bits, I've made a big change. No more straight cut, flush trim bits for me. They've caused enough headaches. Instead, I'm running a compression bit, and the difference is huge. It dramatically cuts down the chance of a catch when you're flush trimming. If you ever had one grab on you, you know exactly how dangerous and how destructive that can be. With the above table height adjustment, dialing in your material is quick and precise. And once everything's set, the locking mechanisms on both the lifter and the insert keep everything rock solid. It's smoother, safer, and way more enjoyable to work with.
Hold the phone, Jack. I think this is going to be now 3-Tip Thursday. I'm going to start something new. 3-Tip Thursday. So here's an added bonus tip for you.
And a quick word on attaching your template to the workpiece. The first time around I used crazy glue with an activator and it actually caused the template to delaminate a bit. Not ideal. This time I switched to carpet tape. It held really well, but getting it apart was a bit of a battle and it still caused some minor damage, though definitely a lot less than the glue. Going forward, I think particle board might be a better choice for template material. It's tougher, more stable, and should stand up to repeated use without falling apart.
Thank you all for tuning in to my 2-Tip Tuesday or 3-Tip Thursday, whatever I decide to make it. We'll see you on the next one.
No, you don't have to lie to me. Don't fill your head with things and think you're free. I can smell the fear, I think you made it clear. Yeah, I could be rude, rude, I can be rotten, I can be cool, never forgotten. Creeping in the dark.